All right, so today we got a little bit of kind of a different reaction. FiveM's downfall was planned. Let me know if you even play GTA roleplay. But anyway, we're about to get into this, so let's go. Now, I do want to state I'm a big FiveM enjoyer because I just love GTA roleplay, bro. It's funny as heck. Let me know if y'all want me to play it as well. Documentary on how Rockstar Games killed FiveM.
The FiveM situation is way more dramatic than we all thought. Anonymous insiders have just revealed the entire story, filled with betrayal, corruption, backstabbing, and Rockstar's shady takeover. We're talking about stolen money, fake developers, and even private investigators showing up at people's houses. This story is so insane, there could have been a whole Netflix series made out of it. This isn't just another modding drama, it's one of the biggest betrayals in GTA history, but let's start from the beginning.
All right, before we get into this, make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe if you're new. Don't forget to share the video. And also, literally every platform is GBS Playz. If you want to see me stream on Twitch, Kick, anything, GBS Playz. But anyway, let's get right into it. And also, if you hit 1.5 before the end of ZZZ 2.0, I will do a cosplay that y'all get to choose.
2014, the year when a developer known as NT Authority, or NTA, created the Citizen MP framework, a project that served as the first step toward custom multiplayer experiences in GTA 4, allowing players to create unique game modes and totally custom content. The success of Citizen MP inspired NTA to push the idea even further when GTA 5 launched. Because let's be real, GTA Online was fun, but it had serious limitations.
It really did. Like, to be honest, like, you can barely do anything that you could do in GTA versus like FiveM. You could do so much more. But anyway,
Players couldn't add custom assets, and everything was locked to Rockstar.
You know why? Because they wanted you to buy the assets.
Rockstar's official servers. The potential for user-generated content was clear, but Rockstar wasn't giving players the tools to truly create something new, and that's something NTA wanted to fill with FiveM. But instead of making FiveM a private developer-controlled platform, NTA took a completely opposite approach, making it totally open source, with heavy community involvement. By 2015, FiveM was already gaining a lot of traction. Players were experimenting with new ideas, building insane mods, and pushing the limits of what was possible in GTA 5. But while the community loved it, Rockstar and Take-Two saw it as competition that they needed to eliminate. That same year, Take-Two took drastic action. They banned the accounts of 3 key FiveM community members, including NTA themselves.
See, most of the flack that Rockstar get is from Take-Two, because like Take-Two would do something and then it'd be like Take-Two and Rockstar, because like Rockstar's under them, but it is their game. But the thing is, Take-Two owns like the game. Okay, let's be real. Like they get to say what happens and what doesn't happen at the end of the day, because they like the head honchos. But at the end of the day, I say it's mainly Take-Two, because you know Take-Two like that money, bro.
This was shocking because up until that point, Rockstar had generally been tolerant of modding. They even supported mods, promoting some of the best ones on their official newswire.
Yeah, see, that's why I was saying, like, it's Take-Two that was like, oh heck no. I don't think Rockstar really cared, to be honest. I think Rockstar was like, oh fun. But I think Take-Two was like, oh, yeah, this is going to make our revenue go down. I think we good, because if they can do this for free, they ain't going to buy the shark car.
As long as it didn't touch GTA Online. But FiveM wasn't messing with GTA Online. It was a completely separate multiplayer experience. Rockstar, however, had a different view. In an official statement, they claimed, "The FiveM project is an unauthorized alternate multiplayer service that contains code designed to facilitate piracy. Our policy on such violations of our terms of service is clear, and the individuals involved in its creation have had their social club accounts suspended." This statement was confusing.
I think that Take-Two told them to say that, to be honest.
FiveM wasn't designed to support piracy. In fact, it required players to own a legitimate copy of GTA 5. Yet, Rockstar treated it as a direct threat. A few months later, Rockstar did something unbelievable. They sent private investigators to NTA's home, demanding a complete cessation of any FiveM-related activity. When NTA refused, they handed them another cease and desist letter. While the exact contents of this letter were never revealed, it's safe to assume Rockstar was ordering them to shut FiveM down completely. But they didn't stop there. Rockstar even sent spies into FiveM's private chat rooms, infiltrating conversations and later using them as evidence in legal proceedings in the court. And this
What? Oh, maybe Rockstar ain't as good as they think they are.
This wasn't some legal battle between two tech giants. It was Rockstar and Take-Two, a massive corporation trying not only to shut down, but mentally break a 23-year-old developer who had nothing but the player's best interests in mind. Here's how NTA described the whole incident. So, I just got a pair of PIs at my door claiming to be sent by Take-Two, handing me a phone with a person somewhere in the UK or US or whatever to discuss how to cease my activities with regard to Grand Theft Auto. That they know what happened before with Activision and want to not get the lawyers involved at this time. However, they have tested their legal standing already and are quite certain of their point and aren't willing to accept any solution other than ceasing my activities. Under this pressure, NTA was forced to quit all operations related to FiveM. However, not for long. With FiveM down, revival projects quickly popped up, the most notable being Five Reborn and Multi-Five. Although not as popular as FiveM, these projects made it clear that people didn't want the project to die. Just a few months after the whole legal fiasco, NTA decided to fight back by joining hands with Five Reborn and restructuring the project under the original FiveM name. However, NTA's identity was hidden under the disguise of CFX Collective, and the rest of the smaller team used Elements as their aliases to avoid legal trouble with Take-Two.
That's actually pretty smart. Who the heck lawyer did they talk to get this?
And it surprisingly worked. For years to come, NTA would work on improving the current condition of FiveM, adding new content, tools, menus, and a whole lot more. By 2019, what started as a small platform supporting just a couple dozen players had grown to support over 2,000 slots, an incredible achievement for NTA and his small team of unpaid volunteers. But it's important to note that CFX.RE wasn't a big company yet. In fact, it wasn't a company at all. NTA was still handling everything alone, with only temporary volunteer help from the community. It wasn't until mid-2020 that NTA decided to put together a proper team, bringing in developers who had previously helped with FiveM's development and troubleshooting. But the real downfall of FiveM began when two friends, Deltanic and Theirs, joined the team. With FiveM's team now growing to 5 members, NTA was finally able to step back from managerial tasks, handing those responsibilities over to Deltanic and Theirs.
Oh no, I can see what's about to go on here then, okay.
However, things quickly went downhill. For months, the two contributed nothing. No replies, no meetings, no progress at all.
They think they were too big to do anything. I can see what's going on.
And as time passed, their behavior only got worse. By 2021, NTA decided to hire more
See, I heard of FiveM, by the way, by like 2019.
skilled developers to push FiveM forward. This group, later known as the original developers, included LWSS, Gotti, Thorium, and Tabara. Meanwhile, Zinurki and Nimowa aligned themselves with Deltanic and Theirs, forming what would later be called the Groot Gang. FiveM was now split into 2 groups, but the worst was yet to come. By 2022, FiveM was growing up into one of the most popular platforms every GTA fan wanted to play, and when Rockstar failed to shut it down by force, they decided to do the next best thing, buy out the competition. They reached out to FiveM to make a deal. However, NTA had no idea. Instead, Deltanic took it upon himself to privately negotiate with Rockstar behind their back. At that
Wow, that's messed up, bro.
point, NTA had no choice but to go through with the deal. Deltanic had already exposed their real identity to Rockstar, and with NTA already under a court restriction, backing out would have only led to more legal trouble.
So that's why they end up selling it. I didn't know why they sold it. I just know that they sold it to Rockstar. To be honest, that Dils or whatever his name is, he's dumb. Because I think they only sold it for 20 million. Bro, they could have sold that for at least like 50, maybe 100. Like Rockstar still would have bought it.
Just take a look at this conversation between NTA and Discuse. But the most shocking
I didn't even get a chance to say no, it's crazy.
part is that this entire acquisition deal could have been a partnership between Rockstar and CFX.RE. Instead, Deltanic refused Rockstar's partnership offer without even consulting NTA.
What? Why would you what? That would have been the best thing, because then they could work on their own, they could still be their own little entity while also having Rockstar help in the back.
Despite everything, NTA found some relief in the idea that Rockstar's leadership might finally bring order to CFX.RE, allowing them to step away from management duties. But that
So basically, they just didn't want to be managers. That's what it sounded like. He should never hire them.
did not happen. Rockstar put Ethan Hirsch in charge of finalizing the acquisition and integrating FiveM into the company. As the new big boss of FiveM, Hirsch assumed full control of management, but for NTA, things got worse. In fact, just weeks after Rockstar took over, NTA was suspended for 3 weeks due to internal conflicts with the Deltanic group. It was clear that Deltanic and his crew had won over Hirsch, probably because they had been Rockstar's main source of internal information about FiveM and had played a key role in securing this acquisition.
Yeah, they were the rats. So of course the person that want the rats is going to be like, oh yeah, the rats is here, let's get it.
This became even more obvious when Hirsch created this corporate hierarchy within the company, placing Deltanic and his close friends at the top positions. Deltanic himself was given the title of assistant director of the project. Meanwhile, Discuse, the core developer who had made massive contributions to FiveM and was practically the backbone of the entire Red M project, was given no position at all. Even NTA, the original creator of FiveM, was brought on as nothing more than a contractor.
What? I'm gonna be honest. I would have took all my developers. I would have said, let's go make a new thing, and let's just watch FiveM burn to the ground.
From the very beginning, Hirsch's bias was undeniable, and as time went on, it only became more apparent. After 3 weeks of suspension,
because if we were knowing Rockstar and knowing Take-Two, especially Take-Two, they probably would have started charging people. They would have been like, all right, so all this stuff go to Take-Two, the margins and all that, probably about like 10-20%, okay? We get all the money, and then next thing you know, FiveM ain't there anymore. And there's another thing that people want to use. They're like, why the heck am I spending all of this for that? Like, what?
NTA came back, but shortly after, they were yet again suspended. This time, it was over harassment allegations made by the same group that had been working against them from the start. And this—
What? And that coming from Take-Two was surprising to me. They got something to talk about with that one.
This wasn't a short-term punishment. It was a 3-month-long suspension that heavily disrupted the entire team. Except, this time, the suspension never lifted. In fact, after 3 months had passed, Rockstar announced that they've decided to terminate NTA's contract for good.
Wow, so basically they just kicked them out. Like, they just slowly kicked them out of their own company.
Of course, it came as a shock and caused a lot of disruption in the team, since no other developer had the same experience as NTA. After the acquisition, FiveM was technically part of Rockstar, but the team wasn't treated that way. Even months later, they still had zero access to GTA 5's source code, despite now being under Rockstar's umbrella. To make things even more frustrating, Rockstar's infamous 2022 security breach had already leaked the source code to the public, yet the actual FiveM developers were still left in the dark. Instead of being given the resources to
see, it's because Rockstar didn't care about FiveM. They just wanted to get it so that way they didn't have no competition. So that way it wasn't something that was going against them. That's the only reason why they was like, oh, I want FiveM.
Properly integrate and improve FiveM, the team was forced to continue.
That's why they want to be partners. So that way they don't have to worry about this thing end up coming to be something later on. They could be like, oh, well, we partners with it anyway, so it's whatever. But then they end up buying it out because people want to be dumb.
Continue reverse engineering exploits, a painstaking process that took weeks or even months to fix, which could easily have been resolved within minutes. However, internal conflicts and personal drama were not the biggest problems for FiveM. The management had always been rocky, but with Rockstar in control now, things only spiraled further downhill. Not only did Hirsch dismantle an already struggling team, but Rockstar sealed FiveM's fate by replacing CFX.RE's terms of service with a new platform license agreement. At first, the PLA didn't seem drastically different from FiveM's TOS, but there was one critical change that turned everything upside down: the way Hirsch handled enforcement. It was unnecessarily hostile and even unfairly biased. The enforcement team began flooding server owners with warnings and takedown threats over the most random brand-related assets. But that wasn't the actual problem here.
Oh, I see why. Since Rockstar own it now, they don't want any brands, obviously, because you know why they don't want any brands? Because when the brands come, they be like, well, this is literally Gucci, so what's going on here? And then they were like, oh, you only asked us to do this, so we're going to sue you. That's why it's not brands and Rockstar itself, like the actual game. But the thing is, if it's developed own people, they on their own. We ain't do anything. We ain't make nothing. That's what they could say. But anyway, also, remember, guys, 1.5K cosplay, 3K by January, then we get literally somebody getting free money. So subscribe.
These takedowns just seemed more targeted. Many server owners reported receiving harsh penalties, while others, using the exact same assets, got away without a scratch. Some
so he just didn't like some people. That's what it sounds like.
servers were wiped out overnight, losing assets that had taken years to build, while others mysteriously remained untouched. The favoritism was obvious, and for many in the community, this was the moment FiveM truly started to fall apart. One of the biggest victims of Rockstar's aggressive and unfair enforcement was Rockstar Mischief, or RSM, a growing FiveM server that suffered a massive loss of players due to sudden and selective takedown actions. Unlike some servers that seemed to get a free pass, RSM found itself directly in the crosshairs, and its owner, Nex, decided to speak up about it and boycott FiveM altogether. This wasn't just bad enforcement, it was favoritism, plain and simple. Massive servers like NoPixel and Complexo were left untouched, even when reported to Rockstar's higher-ups. Now, this whole tactic resulted in players abandoning FiveM servers, and even forced many server owners to shut down their projects. But why? Wouldn't sabotaging FiveM hurt Rockstar's own image? And why were the biggest servers conveniently spared from punishment despite openly violating the TOS?
Because the biggest servers probably are the paid servers. Not saying they are paid servers. And since they pay servers, they get money. And that money probably go to Rockstar. So the more money they make, the more they're like, okay, I'll just sit here then. Versus, oh, it's like somebody that makes like 20K versus like a thing that makes 500K a month. All right, we're going with that other one.
Well, it all becomes clear when we learn that all this time, Rockstar was secretly working on their own project called Rome, or Rockstar's online modding engine, a platform
okay, see, I didn't know that.
Much like FiveM, that would offer players UGC content within an official Rockstar-controlled environment. And apparently Rockstar had a deal with some big server owners over at FiveM, convincing them to jump ship and bring their entire player base over to Rome when it launches. Despite FiveM still pulling in hundreds of thousands of players daily, it's
Okay, so that's the real reason. I thought it would be money or something like that. No, it's literally because they was making their own thing and they wanted people to come on to their side, so they asked the big server owners, bring your people onto their side.
Overall state,
and they said, yeah, some of the smaller ones, they probably just didn't care that how many people they had, or some of the small ones probably was like, no. And they was like, okay, all right, bet. We'll see.
Was actually crumbling. Longtime community members, server owners, and fans were growing increasingly frustrated. However, due to Rockstar's ridiculously strict communication policies, even the team members who actually wanted to solve these problems weren't allowed to address them publicly. Things got further out of control when stolen or cracked assets were being resold through escrow, with people charging money for content they didn't even own. However, FiveM management did nothing about it. Every complaint either went completely ignored or got a lazy solved tag slapped on the ticket. To make matters worse, some server owners started exploiting bots to increase their player counts, giving them an unfair advantage over others who had actually worked hundreds of hours and spent tons of money growing their servers organically. Then
like YouTube.
Came the rise of fake upvote services, with people using credit card fraud, order cancellations, and stolen accounts to buy or resell fraudulent boosts. Upper management, or the Groot Gang, handled this criticism the worst way possible, by deleting comments, banning and muting community members, and doing everything they could to cover up their incompetence. This endless cycle of mismanagement,
they don't care as long as they get the money, they don't care where it comes from.
Laziness, and total disregard for the community took a toll on the core team, the same people who had worked tirelessly to make FiveM and RedM the massive successes they were. Seeing all this, a long-standing community member, Vivian, decided to take action by writing an open letter. It wasn't meant to be an attack, just a plea for transparency and actual engagement from those in charge. The post quickly gained massive traction, with countless community members sharing their own experiences, and almost everyone agreed with Vivian's points. Even several team members joined in, including NTA, who decided to speak up about the current state of FiveM and set some records straight, but that didn't set well with Rockstar. In response to NTA's public statement in the open letter, Rockstar cut the payout in half. Instead of FiveM being sold for 20 months worth of operating income, it was cut down to just 10 months. Looking at the whole mess, Ethan decided to hire new developers to try and salvage the situation. That's when the former Alt-5 team entered, namely Tuxic, Zigger, Vector, Fabian, and Leon. After some negotiations with Ethan, the Alt-5 team managed to get inside FiveM, with Tuxic taking taking the lead developer role alongside Nihonium from the Groot gang. And strangely enough, these newcomers were getting paid more than the original team, despite
Dang, they really brought their own and said, screw you guys, bro.
everything. CFX and Rockstar were hoping that with Alt5 joining, things would finally start to improve for FiveM. But instead of things getting better, something way worse happened. Remember the GTA 5 source code leak from December 2023? It was widely believed that Teapot Uber hacker was behind it, the same guy who hacked Rockstar's private Slack server and leaked early GTA 6 development footage. However,
That's kind of funny if it was.
conversations in this detailed
Bro, then they found that man, like they found that man quick, bro. They was not playing around.
expose reveal that it was Alt5 members who purchased the source code from someone with access to it, using a middleman for €7,000. They received the source code through a Mediafire link, which was later leaked to the public along with the private password. Of course, Rockstar had no clue who was behind it at the time. The only person who did know was Discuse, who was told everything by Tuxic himself. But Discuse refused to give him up for friendship's sake. Friendships aside, the original FiveM developers never really got along with the new Alt5.
So more like it was an inside hit, basically like a big FU type thing. Because that's a huge FU. You leaked the source code. It's like, oh my gosh.
Members. The reason for that is that Alt5 had been stealing FiveM's code and implementing it into their own project without permission for years. Not only that, but they lacked the skill and deep understanding of GTA 5 and FiveM that the OG team had. Instead of learning from them and working together, the Alt5 team sided with the Groot gang, and their behavior became just as careless and dismissive. They started doing things on their own, skipping necessary tests, ignoring security vulnerabilities, and took way too long to act on the most basic and important things. Discuse tried to bring all of this to Ethan's attention, but instead of fixing things, an argument broke out, which eventually resulted.
I mean, what did he expect? What would he expect? Like, let's be real. Like, you literally backstab your people with him to get into where you at now, and you expect him to not backstab you and be like whatever the same way he been for years. You just expect him to just be like, oh well, you know, since you're saying it, this is important. No, he ain't gonna care. Just like he ain't care when the last time.
In Ethan kicking Discuse out of the project without any prior warning. To make matters worse, Ethan had his work PC erased, wiping out months, if not years, of research, improvements, and future plans for both FiveM and RedM. Ethan then tried to shift the blame onto the CFX.RE team, claiming that even the OG FiveM developers were unhappy with Discuse, and that whole negativity in the team was all his doing. However, that was a pure lie. The moment Discuse was fired, the OG team followed suit. The lead anti-cheat developer was the first to resign, followed by Gotti, who quit just a couple of weeks later without prior notice. And finally, Thorium announced his departure from the team as well. With that, the entire original
Hey, at least his boys stayed true to him, bro. His boy, they made sure they was gonna work together.
FiveM team, the people who actually built it from the ground up, were gone. FiveM is no longer the same project that started back in 2015. Everything has changed. It no longer remains an open-source, community-powered platform. It no longer has a clear direction, a passionate team of developers, and it's heavily restricted by Rockstar's policies that aren't even fair for all. But is Rockstar really at fault here? There's no denying the fact that FiveM was already a big mess well before Rockstar even intervened. While NTA is no doubt a legendary developer, they weren't ready for such a big management responsibility.
I mean, yeah, I don't think anybody is.
And Rockstar seemed like a safe option for the project to gain some stability. However, Rockstar had other plans from the very beginning. They carefully orchestrated this to take control of their only real competitor that they couldn't shut with the legalities. Even after the acquisition, Rockstar's management has done more damage than good to FiveM and its reputation, pushing players and server owners away from the platform, offering unfair and special treatment to massive servers like NoPixel and Complexo in return for their help with Rome. While we can't put all the blame on Rockstar, it's clear that Ethan did have ulterior motives that slowly destroyed FiveM's team from the inside. It was Ethan's responsibility to keep things civil and equal within the CFX.RE team after the acquisition. But all he did was play favorites, ignore important issues, and get rid of the only people who cared more about the project than money and titles. For many players and developers who truly valued its freedom and creativity, FiveM is already dead. The only reason Rockstar is keeping it on life support is to avoid a massive backlash from the millions of fans who still love what FiveM once stood for.
Yeah, I'm hearing that FiveM is supposed to go down in December. Like, it's supposed to be like done in December.
But make no mistake, the end is coming, and probably sooner than most people think. With GTA 6 coming, Rockstar has likely already mapped out its plans for Rome, their very own official modding platform. And they won't be doing it alone. They've brought major FiveM players like NoPixel, Complexo, and others onto their side, ensuring that when the switch happens, they'll already have a loyal base ready to jump ship. It's a slow and calculated takeover, one that was never about supporting FiveM, but about replacing it entirely. There's still so much more to unpack. Betrayals, backstabbing, stolen assets, and broken promises. But in the end, it all leads to one undeniable truth. This is the end of an era. FiveM, as the community knew it, is gone, and Rockstar is ready to take full control of what comes next.
I mean, to be honest, I think them making their own little thing is good to a point. It depends, Like, because to be honest, they could move it just like that, just like Bethesda, and then that's GG at that point. And, you know, if we get a mall menu like that, that's tough. That's the end of days. But or they could just do it like nice and like Rockstar way, it'd be good. But at the end of the day, I think most of the stuff. Hey, if this is all true, that's insane that all that happened behind FiveM. I didn't know any of that, but. Other than that, I'll see y'all guys in the next video. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, and you don't forget to share the video. Obviously, guys, like, come on out there. But anyway, I'll see you guys in the next video. Let me know if y'all like this kind of content. I'm trying some new content as well lately today. So yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. And also, if you want to watch me react, if you want to react to me losing polls, you know, check out that video that's popped up.